Star Wars issue 37 finds Lobot's cybernetics jump to life as on the command deck of the Home One, Admiral Akbar is alerted to something taking control of the shield batteries, powering them up. The emergency lights come on as Lobot takes control of the ship. Lando is woken by the alarms, calling down to the officers who tell him the weapons are heating up and there must be some threat on the horizon for them. Lando goes to grab Lobot, finding something has overtaken his friend's cybernetics. The bridge crew meanwhile rush around in chaos, finding the ship thinks that it's in the middle of a fight and every defense has been activated and the main turbo lasers are beginning to warm up. Lando tries to help Lobot, asking if he's the one doing this as the ship's guns begin to fire randomly at the other ships in the rebel fleet. Lando tries to get Lobot to stop since it's only a matter of time before this attack is traced back to him, and if the rebels find out that his implants are Imperial tech, they will think that he is a traitor and did this on purpose. The guns power down as Lando smashes his friend in the side of the head with a machine part, destroying most of his implants. Home One's systems return to normal as Akbar orders his men to find out who was responsible for this. Lando takes Lobot to the medbay, where a medical droid tells him that thanks to the implants being designed for real-time battle calculations, they will eventually override the personality of the host, limiting their communication and emotive functions. The droid knows that for the Imperials, this was seen as a minimal loss, so they never did anything about it. Lando understands that that's how the implants work, but wants to know what happened to them recently. The med droid knows that Lobot was the one who overrode the ship's systems, and Lando tries to hush him up, wanting him to speak quieter so no one hears him. The droid says that the implants are able to contact Imperial systems for scheduled code updates, but they are misfiring old programming and Lobot was running through old battles, repeating the same actions of the Imperial ships of those battles. The droid doesn't think that it would happen again since by the time it does, Lobot will be long dead thanks to the implants fully taking over his mind. Lando takes the news rather well, quickly wiping the memory of the med droid and picking up his friend, intending on getting him fixed and making things go back to the way they used to be. Years before on Castel, Lando and Lobot celebrate another successful win at the casinos, all thanks to Lobot's implants. Lobot thinks with the winnings they have now, they have enough to pay off Papa Torren and get them off planet. Lando, however, has other ideas, knowing that they could take the money and pay off Torren, or they could leave, but Lobot reminds him that if they did that, they wouldn't be alive to enjoy the money. Lando has that covered, however, thinking that this will be just a little sidestep. He tells his friends of a high-stakes game that Imperials tend to play in, and the local Imperial governor named Sarah is going to be there, so he intends on using his Calrissian charm to get into her quarters and gain access to everything she has taken from the city. Lobot knows that this governor is actually a Moff known as the Burning Moff and the Fiend of Castel, and Lando is a fool to try and run a scheme on her. Lando, however, has hope for them and for a better tomorrow, and besides, what's the worst that could happen? Sometime later, after the botched heist of the Imperialis, Lando listens to the now robotic voice of Lobot tell him that he has the power to get people to follow him, and that's amazing. But before he becomes whatever the implants turn him into, Lobot wanted to tell his friend that he needs to get out of the game and find something to believe in other than himself, and to use that power he has for good, since he is better than being a lowly thief and scoundrel. In the present, Lando fashions Lobot a helmet which will prevent his implants from sending signals out. He knows that his friend is in there somewhere and he won't let him die, and there is an answer to his problem, and it lies in the talkie droid. Lando knows that he should ask the rebels to help him with this one, but if he did that, he would have to explain how he sold the ancient droid to Jabba the Hutt to get out of debt, and how Jabba now unknowingly has access to rebel plans. He tells his friend they need to do this themselves, and he can't be a rebel for this one. He's got to be the old Lando. Later, Lando meets with some rebels in the hangar bay who wish to congratulate him on his recent mission to Coruscant, wanting to buy him a drink. One refers to him as the Baron Administrator, but Lando corrects the woman, saying that he doesn't like the fancy titles, and since she was one of his people back on Cloud City, he always looks after his people. Before heading to the Falcon, Lando asks C-3PO where Leia is. The droid, already infected by the Scourge, tells him that she is in Bay 18 with some pilots, so Lando goes to see the General, finding her talking about how to maximize their resources thanks to all of the fuel they got from the Kazarat convoy. Lando casually tells her that he's going to be taking the Falcon out to help out an old friend and didn't want to trigger any patrol into thinking he stole it. Leia is a little suspicious though, reminding him that it's actually Han Solo's ship and a military asset now. Lando is quick to mention how nobody seems to question her or Luke when they go off on their personal missions, so he's going to take the ship, do his mission, and be back before she knows it. Leia surprises Lando by revealing that she does indeed trust him, wanting him to bring Han's ship back in one piece. As Lando leaves with Lobot, he wonders if he lied to Leia, since he didn't really tell her the truth, yet at the same time he also sort of did. He puts it to the back of his mind as he tells Lobot that they are heading for Tatooine and will have him all fixed up in no time, and then it's back to the straight and narrow for them. As they set off into hyperspace, Lando hopes that the droid is being looked after, as in Jabba's palace, Jabba grabs the talkie and tosses him across the room, angered that he translated his last deal with Black Sun wrong. The talkie says that he had told Jabba that there would be errors in him dealing with modern idioms, as his databases are thousands of years old. The droid is taken to see EV9D9, who knows the talkie is disobeying their master. The Scourge watches as the talkie asks how he's supposed to translate current vernacular when the phrases aren't in his databases. The torture droid knows that if he doesn't do it, he ends up back in the torture room with him. EV orders his torture droids to torture Talkie and then wipe his mind and reprogram him, since one way or another, once they are done with him, there won't be much left.